All right, I had to cut it early because, guys, check this out. We are actually watching the sun rise here in Washington, D.C. This is too cool. I'm sitting here waiting for the countdown to finish, and I'm seeing, if you look right here, the sun is coming through the clouds, and it's just getting brighter and brighter. That was too cool. I had to cut the countdown short. I'm sure you guys aren't too sad about that. What is going on, guys? Good to see everybody here today. Flying Guitar Sam, what's up, man? Excited to see this approach. I am too, man. I'm excited to try to fly it. It's been a while since I've actually flown the approach. I did one practice approach yesterday just to get the screenshots and the thumbnail, and it was not very stable, so hopefully I'll do better today. Anderson C, what's going on, man? Tony Docs, what's up, dude? Long time no see. Yeah, it's been a while, man. Pavel Kostrov, what's going on? Yes, you make a good point, man. We have not gone to Europe in some time since Microsoft 2020 has come out, so we may have to revisit that here in a little bit. Let's see. Dougal McTavish, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Watching on tablet from a hospital bed. At least I got some great internet. Dougal, I am sorry to hear that, man. I hope you are doing okay, my friend. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you, man. I'm glad I can at least bring you some entertainment this morning, or I guess afternoon for where you are. But good to have you aboard, man. Only Millhouse, what's going on? Good to see you. One of one and I, Chris. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, guys. Wow, I can hear that airplane taking off. Somebody departed at 3-3 there. But anyways, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. I'm V1. We're going to be taking a fly-by-wire A320 Neo up from Washington, D.C., up the East Coast to Portland, Maine. Now, a lot of people have a lot of, or do a lot of streams into Washington, D.C., where we are right now doing the river visual. It is a famous approach. It's pretty nice. You come down the river. You got to make sure you don't hit P-56, which is the restricted airspace. And I'll pan the camera around here. You know, you got our Washington Monument, Capitol building, and all that stuff. So it is a challenging approach, fun approach, but there's another approach on the East Coast that doesn't get a lot of publicity, and that is the harbor visual into Portland, Maine. So that's what we're going to do today, and I think this approach, in real life anyway, is borderline probably more fun to fly than the river visual. And I don't know if it's just because you got that real East Coast feeling up there. You know, you're in Portland, Maine, and it's just, you're going up the harbor. It just seems to be a little bit more enjoyable, from at least in my opinion. And I think that might have to do with the fact that, you know, if you have a little bit more leeway too, you know, if you violate your turn a little left or a little right, you're not going to be in restricted airspace. So it's a little bit more relaxing to shoot the approach. But it is, I would say it's right up there with challenge level, because there are zero distance markers or references. So I'm going to pull up, I've actually got my Navigraph set up here. Let's see if I can pop it up on the screen for you. So there we go. So we've got it on the screen. This is the chart that we're going to use, but you can see here, unlike the Washington National chart, you don't have any references and altitude. So you're really just saying like, hey, here you go, hit the lighthouse, turn in, and shoot the approach. So it'll be fun. I'm going to close that out. We'll talk about that en route. But I think this is really going to be fun. I think you guys are going to enjoy this. So let's get to it, man. Jeremy Harvey, what's up? Says, I just submitted my resume to major airline. They said it looks spectacular. I'm excited for it to work. I think you know who it is. Jeremy Harvey, that is awesome, man. I am so happy for you, dude. I did read your emails. I haven't got back to you. I apologize, man. But that email account that I have gets about probably 75 to 100 emails a day. So I haven't got back to you, but I did read them, and I've been following your progress, man. Keep me updated. That is awesome. Couldn't be happier for you, man. Couldn't happen to a more deserving guy either. So let's get into the cockpit, guys. Enough watching this beautiful sunrise. I mean, that is just, honestly, that just made the stream for me right there. I mean, look at the sun coming up. This is so cool. All right, let's hop into the cockpit. We are cold and dark. The child is screaming. That sounds like a pretty standard day at Washington, D.C. So here we go. Battery 1 on. Battery 2 on. And we'll establish electrical power to the aircraft. Let's go ahead and get our nav light on. Love the sounds. A little bit loud. Let me turn them down for you here, so I don't blind or deafen you guys. Hopefully that seems better there. Okay, so we got external power to the aircraft. We do need to get our overhead lights on. We can turn on our KGB light as well. And let's go ahead and run through our flow. We're going to go up the left-hand side. That is normal. Ground control push button needs to be on when it's on, but it's not. We'll go ahead and get our ADIRs into a line, 1, 2, and 3. We'll leave the fuel pumps off. Does the fire test work? It does. Awesome. Engine 1, Engine 2. I haven't been doing any fire tests. Okay, that's interesting. So I don't want to blow the APU bottle there. What happened? I went to hit the test button. There we go. Okay. And I lifted the guard. That's all I need to do was blow the bottle, but that's over here, so we should be okay. Fire test is good. Fuel pumps are off. Everything else is off for the overhead. Awesome. Come back over here. Let's get our lights. Get our PFD, MFD, E-cams. Get the brightness on. JJ Modest is pretty close to 16,000 subs. Keep up the grind. Love the stream. JJ Modest, thanks, man. Appreciate it. No grind here for me, man. This is just, I do this for fun. I love it. You guys are just making this channel grow. It's awesome. But yeah, I try not to look at this as a grind and whatnot. It's something that I enjoy doing, and unfortunately I haven't been able to be streaming as much as I want to right now, but it's just, it seems like I can never catch up, man. All right. Initialization. What do we got? We're going to be going cost index of 55 today. Cruise flight level is going to be 330. And IRS init and align on ref confirm. Our flight plan should already be in the box. So while we do that, since there's really not much to do, as far as loading the box, since it's already preloaded, we'll watch the jet bridge get hooked up here. Ali Mehmed, what's going on, man? Stream, dude. Chris says Microsoft is just overall beautiful. It is, man. I mean, if you guys were here, I know we got a couple more viewers. Thank you for joining me early, by the way, guys. I know it's a little bit earlier stream. Interesting that we're boarding from the R2 door. I don't think I've ever done that, unless it was the situation required it. But that's kind of strange that we're connecting on that side. Anyway, if you missed the beginning of the stream, it was pretty fantastic. We tuned in and I could see the sun rising, so I had to cut the countdown short because the sun was coming up and the glow was reflecting off the water. It was just, honestly, this sim is so beautiful. It needs, I'm looking forward to the progress airplane, and as more study level aircraft hit this sim, it's going to be really hard to do anything else, man. I tell you what. All right. Let's get our flight directors on. Look, they don't show up while we're not in a line. That's actually accurate. Glad to see that. So the FD push buttons, I just wanted to see if that would show the crosshairs. That's pretty cool. It's not a line, so that is modeled correctly. Everything else is good there. Let's go back here, finish our initialization here. We can't really do flight plan. We know what's in the box. Our secondary, we can't do that. RadNav page, we're not going to hard tune anything coming out of here. Our init B page, let's go ahead and get our 0 fuel weight and 0 fuel weight CG in there. Our block fuel on board is 7.2. Let's throw that on there, 7.2. That looks good. Will it populate numbers? I don't think it does, right? It just populates zeros. I think it's got to wait for the alignment. What are the little screens that are above each of the McDoos? Little screens. Oh, CPDLC? Basically controller pilot clearance stuff. It's not fully functional yet, or I don't think it's functional yet, but I think it will become functional. I think they're working on making this functional. So I believe the FS Labs has this fully functional, which might be something that I show you guys here in a little bit. I have this, but the newer Airbuses, like all the new Airbuses that are coming off the line from Airbus and all the Neos that we're taking delivery, they do have this. Now, it is airline specific. It's an option. You can get it. You cannot get it. And I believe the ones that we have, at least, you know, I haven't been on the line in 2 months, but when I left the line for my leave, there was, we weren't fully operational yet, but we did have them on there on the new airplanes. We haven't, I guess, activated them, I guess is what you could say. So look at that. We got extra gas, 2 hours and 19 minutes, plenty of fuel. That's our init B page. Let's come back over here. Nothing in the prog page. Perf. We'll redo this once we get our engine started, right? We got to go reselect those V speeds. So that looks good. It's kind of a hopscotch way to get the airplane aligned here, because it's not fully functional yet, but it is definitely a heck of a lot better than it was from the get-go. And my favorite part right here, let's go ahead and pick up our Etas, guys. ATSU, AOC menu, Etas, Let's see. We are in DCA, so we're gonna get our departure Etas first. I don't believe Portland has a digital Etas, so we'll send that off, and we'll go ahead and load some bags, I guess. Here, request baggage service while we're waiting.
Washington Ground Jet Blue 133, could you please send the baggage?
That's cool. The sun is still rising. For ATC communication stuff. Swappy, what's going on, man? Good to see you here. Miss Jungles, good to see you. Hopefully you're still getting to fly in real life. I love your streams. I will be getting... So, about real life streams. Oh, check this out, man. What is that? Another Airbus? Or... Can't quite tell what that is. Looks like a hybrid of some type. Some Microsoft type of airplane. So... In January, when I go back to the line, I have to go through basically everything again. I got to go through ground school, and I got to go through sim. I got to go through EET. I got to do all this as a dequalified because I'm at a recency experience. So before that happens, we do have an FS Labs fund. It's almost reached its goal for going to P3D. And what's going to happen is I will probably... Because I'm going to need it myself. I'm going to need to do some serious hardcore crossing T's, dotting I's type of stream before I go back to training. And I'm going to use the simulator. I'm going to use hopefully FS Labs and P3D to get those back to work streams going where we will be doing everything by the book. And it's not only going to be for you guys, but it's also going to help me in getting my proficiency back up in preparation for going back to training. So I look forward to that. I do have to say that I really miss flying this time of year because it's the holiday season. It's, everyone's excited. I know it's weird because it's COVID right now, but, pumpkin spice lattes or the peppermint mocha from Starbucks. I mean, I will say I'm not a pumpkin spice latte guy, but I do have a crutch, and that is the peppermint mocha from Starbucks. And there's something about getting a peppermint mocha, walking through the terminals on the East Coast where it's cold, snowing, little kids are running around excited. I love talking to little kids this time of year, especially if, they want, have you seen Santa? That's probably my all-time favorite question is if a little kid comes up and is like, have you seen Santa? But, yeah, I do miss it. I do miss flying. I was thinking about this the other day for sure, so... All right, looks like we are completely aligned. That is good there. We have our company message. That should be our weather. Let's go back and let's get our weather. AOC received messages. New Etas DC 34015 gust 23 10 miles broken at 55 30 57 on the altimeters. They should all be synced up, so we'll set this. Looks like our cargo door is closing. I can hear it. 3057. Man, that's up there. All right. FDs can come on. FDs can come on. Constraint mode, constraint mode. We're going to take it all the way up. Whoa. All the way up to 330. And I twisted the speed knob there. I hope that's not going to screw me up here. So now I have vertical speed 0. There we go. I don't know. This may screw up our takeoff here. We'll have to see what happens. All right. Anyway, cargo door is shut. Let's go ahead and get our fuel pumps on. Seat belts on auto. Arm the emergency exit lights. Get the APU master switch primed up there. We no longer need the KGB light, I don't think. And hear the fuel pumps running in the background. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Back up top here. Start the APU. Outside we go. Flying Guitarist says, found that FS Labs, if you press the PA button and say flight attendants prepare for the cabin floor blank, it records your voice and you can hear it play back in the cabin over the PA. Unreal, Sam. So that's, that's kind of where I'm headed is like, I don't want to use P3D for a visual aspect because I'm not going to put the money in making the sim look pretty. We have sims that look absolutely stunning right now. And the only thing that's really lacking is that almost nearly 100% functional Airbus, and I think that's what that FS Labs will bring us. And besides, it'll bring some fresh content to the channel as well. So, Jeremy Harvey says, how are you supposed to study for your oral exam if you don't know exactly what question keep? Well, here's the thing, Jeremy. You have a company FOM, and you have the Airbus manuals. And everything and anything in those books is fair game. So that's just the name of the game. It's not something you can just cram for overnight. You literally have to know almost everything, you know. And it's if you don't know something, if you can look something up perhaps. If you like, hey, I don't know that off the top, but I know exactly where to find that. Let me check my FCOM or whatever it is, because you can't possibly memorize everything, but you have to be familiar with almost everything. And there are sometimes, depending on who the examiner is, you may have a gouge or whatnot, and they say, hey, he likes to ask this question or this question. But as far as systems goes, you need to know everything. I mean, in real life, you're expected to know everything about your airplane. Ramsey, what's going on, man? Since AV1 first stream for me, big hello from Scotland. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Welcome aboard, dude. Do you have to grant permission for baggage and catering to do their thing, or is it understood those things happen? They just happen. They just happen, Fubar. So I know it's kind of weird. I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect you. APU bleed, come on. So it is weird calling ground control for all that stuff, but yeah, in real life it just happens. Most of the time it doesn't happen on time. So then you're waiting for catering, or you're waiting. The flight attendant will come up 10 minutes before push and say, "Hey, we haven't been catered yet," and you're like, "Oh, great! Now I gotta call operations and make sure we get catered." Okay, so back down here, we've got our Etas. We're going to take off runway 1. And I'm curious, I'm pretty sure, let's try this out. So I'm going to zoom in on this box here. Let's do a little fly-by-wire depth and modeling testing here. So we've got Portland in there, arrival. I do not believe Portland has a digital Etas. I may be wrong. But let's see if we can get one to come up here. If not, we'll try to do a weather request and see if that works. And then we got to push off the gate. And somebody said we got to set transition altitude. That's right, we do have to set that in the perf page. All right, there's our company message. Digital Etas not available. Okay, perfect. So can we do a weather request? Let's see if we can do weather request from Portland, Maine. Alright, perf data, transition altitude 18,000, good catch, thanks guys. I never really have to set that, that's always, at least in our airplanes, it's in the US anyway, it's set. You have to change it when you go down south. But I think everything else is ready to go. Let's go ahead and get our beacon light on. Let's go ahead and disconnect the jetway.
Washington ground jet blue.
Do you have a favorite airliner?
Please disconnect the jetway from the aircraft.
727, man. Hello from Australia. What's going on, man? Welcome aboard. Glad to have you. Do you have the latest dev or stable? Flight Simmer, I believe this is the latest dev version as of yesterday morning. I am running the dev version. I normally don't run the dev version on anything as a streamer, but I've noticed the fly-by-wire dev mode is probably more stable than half of the dev mode stuff that we get from other companies. So, METAR, hey, check this out. That is too cool. All right, Portland, Maine right now, it is 330 at 17 gust 25, so that'll make an interesting approach for 29. We probably shouldn't do it, but we're going to do it anyway because why not? 3032, peak wind. I can't read the peak wind. I can't arrow over. But so this is really cool. So what happened, and I'm going to show you guys this right now while I have everyone's attention because I think this is important to know. So when you're in your AOC menu, in real life, we normally always use Etas. You go to Etas, you put your airport in, and you get your departure or arrival code. Now, some airports that don't have a digital Etas, first one that comes to mind for me is Cancun, obviously Portland since we're going there, but you start going to these smaller airports that don't have digital Etas, we can still get our Etas from our McDo. We just have to go back and go to what's called weather request. And then from weather request, we can put in the airports that we want. And in our airplane, it's formatted just a little bit different. I think it has options for, it says request METAR, request TAF, and then request METAR and TAF. Those are the options we have. Let's see what this, so here we go. Look at that. They have the options, METAR and TAF. It's probably just a software difference. I think ours is actually select, like line select key 3 here is for METAR, METAR and TAF, or just TAF. But it's been a while since I've actually seen it. But this is what you would use when you don't have a digital ATIS. So that's one thing to keep note of. If you send your ATIS and you get this message back right here where it says digital ATIS not available, that's not a bug, that's not an error. That is 100% accurate. That just means they don't have digital ATIS. So you need to go back and get a weather request instead of the ATIS. So, all right. Everything else is set. Let's request a pushback. All right, everything else is good, and let's get out of here. Oh, we have to get our clearance, don't we? Let's get our clearance. Then we can get pushback.
Washington Ground Jet Blue 133 ready to copy IFR clearance to
Christian
Portland.
says there is a free add-on that you just click and the jetway connects. Oh, it's sort of a better pushback. I will check it out, man. QNH is pretty high. 59, it's up there.
Departure frequency is 118.905 squawk 0611.
Flight Simmer says the dev version for fly-by-wire is so stable because the testing we do. I 100% agree, man. It's how it should be done. You guys are knocking this out of the park, man. I've been flying. I mean, look, we've been done what, 2 or 3 streams in FS 2020 in a row now. It is making me fly this platform. Your mod itself. So it's pretty awesome, man. All right. Readback is correct. All right, here we go. Let's get out of here. Oh wow, we're dropping frames 7%.
Washington Ground Jet Blue 133 requesting pushback. Jet Blue 133 pushback request accepted.
I'm just gonna release the brakes. Brakes released. Get us out of here. We're just gonna push straight back. Mr. Baylor, what's going on, man? Welcome. What is the free text field in that menu? Like just a scratch pad? Free text. Yes. So you're talking about in the McDo. So you can send a message to dispatch, maintenance, or I can't remember who else. Somebody else. And it's airline specific too, software specific. I believe it only works if you send it to dispatch. Like if you select the maintenance function, it doesn't really work. You just have to send to dispatch. If your airline pays for more services, you can get specific links to maintenance, dispatch, or maybe scheduling. I don't know. I forget. There's a third option in the real airplane. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is now for some reason. See ya, DC. Yes, sir. Oh, that looks... We can make that turn there. That's plenty far back.
Washington Ground Jet Blue 133 requesting the end of pushback.
Carnage Wall, what's going on, man? Good to see you here. Alright. Brake set. Ignition mode, ignition start. We got pressure. Starting engine 1. Let you hear these sounds here while we spool up.
Subscriber ahead. Look up.
Thank you for the subscribe there, Michael Dart. Appreciate it. Does the print function work in real life? Yeah, you can print them off. And in the FS Labs, it works. If you have a USB printer hooked up, you can print out of your PC from the FS Labs A320. Pretty incredible, huh? I believe the Mad Dog does it too for P3D. That's what Phantom 320 was telling me. All right, we got a good start on engine 1. And let's go ahead and fire up engine 2 since it's the first flight of the day. We're going to need our warm-up. Jeremy Harvey says, I flew back from Salt Lake to Baltimore the other night, and the tailwinds were amazing. Oh, yeah. It's awesome going eastbound, that's for sure. Going westbound would not be too fun. James Ruddle, thank you for the sub, man. Appreciate it. Listen out for the reworked flap sound by Boris. Okay, we'll extend the flaps from the wing view here. Those engine start sounds are fantastic. Alright, sounds like we have 2 good starts. That goes there. Arm U. I'm not going to extend the flaps because I want to do it from the wing view. You guys can come off, so let's go ahead and take a listen from, we'll do it from back here. Oh, yeah. Those sound very good. Those sound very good. Those sound very realistic. Alright. I guess we're doing flaps 2 takeoff. I wanted to do flaps 1. I think I accidentally extended it to 2. That's not a problem. We'll do flaps 2, Toga takeoff. Reset our V speeds. 18, 19. We're going to be a rocket ship out of here. 24. Thrust reduction is 15, 12. And acceleration. Yeah, that works for me. Takeoff shift none. Let's do it. Brakes released. Let's go. What does warm-up in this context mean? So first flight of the day, depending on what type of engine variant, your engines need to warm up after start. So 5-minute warm-up is pretty much the norm. Now I don't know exactly. These are the CFMs, right? So I don't know exactly what the CFM requirement would be. But for the IAE engines, we got to have 5 minutes, and for the Pratts, you also need 5 minutes. If the aircraft has sat overnight or for an extended period of time, you need a 5-minute warm-up. So after starting that second engine, the first would have selected chrono start on his side, and we'd be counting down 5 minutes. Now, if you didn't need a warm-up, you could probably make a single-engine taxi, especially here in DC. But things happen pretty quick, so I'd rather be ready to roll than not ready. Do you know of any public flight sims? What do you mean public flight sim? These are public. Dougal McTavish says nurse is watching and they love the sexy Texas accent. Oh man, I don't have an accent. I think y'all kidding me. Glad to have some newcomers. Maybe they'll sub to the channel. All right, let's not taxi on the runway. Have a runway incursion. So for those that are members, my frames are kind of not awesome here. So I did do a podcast, and I do have one very scary instance in DC, a runway incursion. It actually happened right here. I believe is this the next taxiway? It might have happened at this next taxiway. That was on one of my podcasts. Gotta love it. I mean, this is a default airport though, and the volumetric grass. I mean, this sim is ready to blow up, man. We get some more airplanes in here. Jeez. Yep, I am flying JetBlue, man, and I'm going over the taxi lights there. All right, let's go ahead and focus. I know my frames are really not awesome. I apologize for that. Let's go ahead and do our flight control check here. Full up, full down, neutral, full left, full right, neutral. We would check the rudders, but I don't want to steer us off taxiway. Full left, full right. That happens way too fast. In real life, that rudder movement is much slower. Auto brakes max. Takeoff config. Cabin check.
Subscriber ahead. Look.
My God. My baby's screaming in the background. It's extra immersion. She's awfully chatty today. Thank you for the subscribes there, guys. Appreciate it.
Subscriber ahead. Look up.
I think what's happening is that the control response is just way too fast in Flight Sim 2020 itself from Microsoft. That's what makes everything so jittery. I don't know. I know the fly-by-wire guys are going to do their flight model rework in update, 9 or something? I look forward to that. Alright, so in real life, this is the penalty box over here. You don't have these lights here. I've sat a long time in this penalty box before. Alright, runway 1. And we're just going to do a quick hold short here. make sure everything else is ready to go here. So that is on. That needs to go TAR80611. Runway 1 confirmed. All right, you guys ready to do it? Landing taxi strobes coming on. Line up and wait. Washington Monument there in the background. That's cool. Extra self-loading cargo. We have our own cabin sounds. So I am working on recording some PAs and stuff for the fly-by-wire mod as well. They were requesting guys to make some recordings, and I've got the script, so hopefully there'll be a V1 sound pack or announcement pack coming for this airplane here once I can get it completed. Frames are... Oh, what is going on? I feel like my frames are really poor. Alright, let's do it from the engine, shall we? Spool them up 50%. Yoga. Oh, man. Nose forward on the stick. Man, Toga, SRS runway, auto thrust is blue, 80 knots, thrust set, neutral by 100, man, we are ready to roll. V1, rotate, positive rate, gear up.
Jetport 133, you are not cleared to take off.
This happens when you're light and do a flaps 2. Should have started the left turn much earlier. So I don't know what the flight director is commanding me to do. I'm gonna go up the river here. It wants me to level. I need to pitch up. Washington Monument. Wow. That is a cool shot. That was a cool shot. I gotta figure out what's going on here with this. Let's go open climb. See if that'll. Speed climb. 250. I'm trying to figure out where it wants me to pitch down. Flaps 1. It should be the flight. Maybe it's just too aggressive. What's our outside air temp? Definitely icing conditions, so wing ice, engine in ice, come on. Flap 0. Love those flap sounds. F, the flight director is actually MCAS. Yeah, I don't know what was happening there. It said like immediately pitch down after rotation. We're like, nah, we're already going to overspeed. If I pitch down, would really overspeed. Man, we really picked up some ice going through there, huh? I'll go ahead and turn the wing ice on just because hopefully it'll start melting off. Apologize for the frame drop. I don't know. Internet's being funky this morning. I didn't. It's a freeware Washington Monument pack, is what that is, or the freeware Washington Monument scenery. Yeah, we immediately picked up a ton of ice, a little bit overdone there by Microsoft. So this is what happens when you depart DC and you want to go northbound. They vector you out to the west and then south, and just because you got to get around all the airspace out there. Speaking of MCAS, the 737 MAX got its recert. It did? I didn't know it today. That's awesome. Should be interesting. Alright, let's go ahead and get back inside, make sure everything is kosher here. We're going through 10,000 feet. Landing taxi lights can come off. We're out of the ice. We're going to go ahead and turn that off. We'll ding the flight attendants that we're through 10. I'm going to manually select speed. Let's see if I do. Where's it going? Yeah, there we go. It's back on profile now. I'm going to turn up these NDs. To Rebel. There's 11,000. We are on the way. Popsicle plane. It definitely is, man. But that sun reflection. Instead of flying all the way out to Rebel and westbound, I think I'm going to. I think we're gonna play with fire here. We're gonna try to redirect us to Penzi. Let's see if we can do that without crashing everything. All right, turn direct to Penzi. Insert. Wait, what? Direct to Penzi. Turn right. There we go. All right. That way we don't have to fly all the way out west. In real life, you probably would. Takes an hour flight, turns it into an hour 30. Way too much ice, definitely not real. Yeah, it's very over-exaggerated. I can't wait till Microsoft gets study-level airliners. The sim is just so far ahead in terms of potential and technology. I agree. The potential for this sim to be the best sim out there, I think it is there. We just need to see what these third-party devs can do in terms of flight dynamics. Now, the GA stuff, honestly, I really don't have a lot of problems with it. I enjoy flying GA. I really do. Let's see. Tom Pascal, what's up, man? He says, watching the flight sim stream is going to make me bite the bullet and invest in it. I tell you what, Tom, if you enjoy GA stuff, then I think you will definitely not be disappointed. If you are strictly an airliner guy and you like having study level stuff, maybe you're coming from the TOLAS, the Flight Factor, or something in P3D, and you want to fly airliners, if you don't, the best airliner we have in the sim is the fly-by-wire mod, period, hands down. Nothing even comes close to it, because everything else is just canned flight stuff from FS 2020, or Microsoft, I should say, and it's just not very good. But the sim itself and the potential in this sim is so great that I think in time it's going to be the front runner. Sam says, I've heard 3 Southwest pilots individually say they love the MAX and think it's a great airplane, very safe. To people saying they want to fly. Yeah, you know, here's the thing, and I've been saying this too, and I'm pretty sure it's going to ring true. If you tell somebody, okay, here's a, $75 ticket on Southwest or $99 fare, whatever they do, but it's on a MAX. I don't think it's on a MAX. I really don't. I think they're just going to get on. Half of the people don't even know what airplane they're on anyway. Jeremy Harvey, what's up? He says, can you explain the significance of each of the FMA colors? Ooh, white, green, blue. Okay, so green is active, white is armed, essentially, and blue is cyan, proper Airbus terminology, cyan. Or is cyan blue? I can't remember now. Blue means... Hold on. Now I'm confused. Let me look at the FMA. Okay, so green is your active mode, right? Blue is armed, but blue is armed, or cyan is armed. And white is a mode, I believe. See, these are things that I need to refresh my memory on before going back to work, and that's a great question. And I may be wrong. Maybe someone in the chat has the book in front of them. But green is your active. You like seeing green. And as far as magenta, that is a FMS plan. So like you'll see a magenta D. That's your deceleration dot, or you'll see magenta altitude restrictions. Those are stuff in the box that is from the FMGCs. That's magenta. Thank you for the subscribe, guys. Appreciate it. Cyan is blue. There we go. Yeah, so cyan is the proper Airbus. It's green, white, cyan, magenta. I can't say blue. I got slapped on the wrist when I went through training. It's not blue. Tom says, I'm a Zebo and Totalist guy mostly, but the potential seems amazing. It definitely is, Tom. And I should probably disarm my spoilers. There we go. It's my predictive wind shear off. Oh, it's on me. I was actually on Phantom 320 for forgetting to turn. Oh, that's radar. We don't need that. There we go. PWS on NATO. There we go. We're looking good now. Jesus says, V1, can you do the United Airlines Airbus 320neo Chicago International Airport Terminal 5 to Mexico City? Ooh, that's a long flight. Maybe, man. That's a long one. That's a long flight. How similar is a gaming joystick to the real in terms of feel? Is it realistic? Nick, I've talked about this before a little bit. As far as the Airbus goes, and I think the Airbus is probably, aside from getting a very expensive yoke, like I'm talking thousands of dollars, the Airbus is probably the closest airliner in real life that you can simulate on a PC platform, because it is all artificial feel, right? It's all fly-by-wire. So even in the real airplane, the feeling that I have on the side stick is artificial. And you can replicate that much easier than you can, for instance, say, a Boeing. Now, or even let's take something that's not fly-by-wire at all. Like let's just say a King Air. Now, while it has a yoke, you have ever-changing aerodynamic forces on that yoke. So it's going to be very difficult to replicate that from a desktop platform, because unless you have a type of force feedback or you're going to expend a high dollar amount on a yoke, it's very difficult to get a very accurate representation. So the Airbus is probably the best airliner that we have to replicate. Now, I've tried numerous different side sticks, and I use the Warthog joystick. It's actually designed from an A10, but it's all metal construction. Now, the gimbal assembly is basically just a ball joint, which is not accurate to the Airbus. However, the tension that you feel, the resistance from the Warthog, from the Thrustmaster Warthog, is very close to the real thing. In fact, and I've said it before, if Thrustmaster made an Airbus stick adapter, so you know how they just came out with their Airbus side stick, but it's on a T1600M, essentially is what it is, with an Airbus grip. A metal Airbus grip for the Warthog, and you blindfolded me, I would probably have a tough time determining which one is actually real, because the resistance that you get from the Warthog is very similar to the airplane. Now, the airplane is a little bit different in the way that the gimbal works. It's not just a ball joint. It's, you know, it actually has like left and right, and it's a very complex gimbal. It's actually closer related to the VKB. If you have the VKB, I also have a VKB side stick. The VKB side stick is very good. However, it just, when you're lacking that tactile feel of the grip itself being metal and cold, it's just one of those things that takes away immersion, because when you're doing a long flight, or maybe you're paint a scenario for you. So you're getting vectored to do an ILS approach down to minimums probably, right? And it's high traffic area. Say you're going into Chicago, it's snowing, and you're constantly manipulating the aircraft from the FCU, right? The autopilot's on, you're doing heading, altitude, speed, you're doing all that with your hand. And if, like for me, I'll be doing it with my right hand, right? Because I'm sitting in the left seat. But if you're an FO, you'd be doing it with your left hand. So you're constantly manipulating the FCU, and you're not even really touching the side stick. Now, once you get down below 1,500 feet, actually 2,000 feet, I always put my hand on the joystick or on the side stick, and I shadow. If I'm pilot monitoring, I'm just going to shadow. I'll put my hand kind of there on the base of the side stick just to make sure it's there in case I need to take control. Or if I'm pilot flying, then of course I have my hand on the stick. And there's a moment in time, and I don't know if it's just me. I'd be curious if there's some real pilots in chat or someone who rewatches this. Leave it in the comments. But there's a distinct moment in time that happens to me when you're in that situation, you're busy, you're using the autopilot, and then all of a sudden it's time to fly the airplane. It's time to the sea. Maybe you break out, and I go and I put my hand on the stick. The first sensation I feel is cold, because that side stick is cold, and it's metal. I believe it's metal. I believe the real Airbus is metal. Maybe like a really hard resin, but it's cold. And it's that sensation that I feel, okay, it's go time. I kind of take, that's kind of like a mental trigger for me. It's like, okay, I put my hand on the stick, it's cold, it's here you go, you have control now. And I get that when I grab my Warthog stick. If I haven't been using my Warthog and we're manipulating on the stream here with the autopilot, and then I go and I grab my Warthog stick as we turn the autopilot off, it's cold, it's very cold, it's hard, it's stiff. That's that kind of that mental trigger to me. Okay, you have control of the airplane now. And that's one thing that you miss when you have a plastic side stick. And that's just, it's something very small. It's a minute detail. But it's something that I remember and I use in real life as kind of a mental trigger. And it's something that I can replicate here in the sim when you have that tactile feel. So that's a very long-winded answer to your question about is it realistic or not. So for the Airbus, yes, I think it's the most realistic airplane you can simulate from a desktop, and I think the Warthog right now on the market is the best option for 100% realism in terms of feeling. Scrolling back in chat now since I got went off on a tangent on that one. Jeremy Harvey says, so you should say Mantoga SRS runway auto thrust cyan. No, so you make a very good point. Our call out is auto thrust blue. It's very funny because we say blue there, but by definition it is cyan. So a very, very wise observation there, Jeremy. But no, we do say blue. But I guess technically, I don't know, maybe the French say cyan. No, I'm pretty sure they say bleu. But that's funny. Carter says, sounds like me when I'm playing Among Us. It's dark blue and cyan, not light blue. Yep. Yeah, I was director I had. He was just being a little not nice person. It got on me. It was like, it's cyan. If you look at this page, he actually brought out, because we were talking about the FMA column, and he actually brought out the page in the FCOM where it shows all the symbols on the PFD, right? And it says, look, this is cyan. It's like, okay, I don't know. He was just being a hard ass, I guess. Ozzy says, just join the stream. Love the info coming from a real pilot. Thanks for sharing your knowledge with us. Hey, absolutely, man. Ozzy, glad to have you aboard. Welcome aboard, man. We are cruising along here. We should take a quick check at things here. How are we doing? We're 27.6, climbing 330. It's a little choppy, so we'll leave the seatbelt sign on for now. We're looking good. We're looking good. We no longer need the chrono. That was for our engine warm-up time. But let's go ahead and park ourselves out in front of the engine here. Ooh, look at that shot. Dougal McTavish says, I bought the Warthog and love it. Dougal, so yeah, maybe you can agree with me that it's on a different level of side sticks, and it is pricey, but there's something to be said about the resistance and the tactile feel of having a cold, hard metal object with, to manipulate, and that's very similar to the real airplane. Ibdary says, I just got me a Warthog a few days ago and it's really nice. Awesome. Yeah, it is awesome, man. And if you are like me and have multi-sim stuff, maybe you play DCS or Combat Simulator, it's great for that. Now, for warbirds, anytime I fly, any warbird simulation or even GA stuff, I like my VKB because I don't think there's anything more precise on the market than a VKB, or there's another company out there that does the same gimbal system as VKB. I can't think of it off the, is it Mongoose? No, I can't. Virpil controls. They have a very similar gimbal system to the VKB. I think that is probably the more precise, but as far as tactile feel for an airliner and heavy metal, the Warthog is hard to beat. what is the penalty box back on the ground? So Ryan Breaker, funny story. So the penalty box, since we got a little bit of time and cruise, I'll go ahead and tell you guys. So we refer to a penalty box as kind of a hockey term, right? So if you do something wrong, you got to go sit out for a minute. And the penalty box in airport terminology or aviation is typically a place where planes will go park for some delay reason, whether they're waiting for a gate to open, maybe they've landed at their destination, but their gate is occupied and there's nowhere to go. So you send them to the penalty box or a holding pad. And it just over time, it's kind of, the name penalty box has kind of become more and more prevalent. And I actually think on the Chicago airport diagram, I think it actually sits on the JEPs. I'd have to look it up. So the Washington, D.C. penalty box is very prevalent to me because there was one time when I was a regional FO and we got a full route clearance. And the controller said, and I can't remember, it was some airway. Okay, we're making a hard turn there. Just make sure we weren't going to crash. There was some airway. I don't remember. Let's just say it was Victor 57. I don't know what it was. I'm just making that up. But she gave us an airway to Charleston. She said, fly Victor 57, Charleston, and then something, something. Now, the Embraer, when you put in the route, if it doesn't match up, it's not going to take it, right? It'll say waypoint airway mismatch, or just won't take the route. And I said, look, man, I can't. I got Victor 57 Charleston, CHS, because that's the identifier, Charlie Hotel Sierra for Charleston waypoint. And it wouldn't take in the box. And I'm like, what is going on here? So I was like, I told the controllers, like, are you sure? I want to verify our route clearance because it's not in our database. We don't have that airway. It says it's not matching up. And she's like, no, it is. It's there. Trust me. I know what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. And this one, we went back and forth a little bit. So they eventually told us, all right, go to the penalty box, and because we got to figure out this route. So we taxied off into the penalty box. We were in line for takeoff, and we're trying to get this reroute plugged in. And Captain's got his charts up, and he's trying to find the airway. I'm trying to find the airway, and I'm looking at my map, my airway map, and I see the airway, and I'm like, it doesn't go to Charleston. There's no way. It doesn't connect. And I get back on the clearance frequency. I'm like, hey, I'm looking at this airway. It does not connect to Charleston VOR. And after about, I don't know, probably 15 minutes, probably legit 15 minutes, the full route clearance, he spelled it out for us, and he said, Victor 57 to Charlie West, Hotel Victor, Quebec, which is Charleston. There's two Charlestons. I think there's like West Virginia, North Carolina, or something like that. There's two Charlestons. And I was thinking it was CHS instead of Charlie West. Now, the controller should have, said Charlie West or Hotel Victor, Quebec, but she said Charleston. But it's also called Charleston. So it was just that situation where, and we were flying down to Florida. So I was, man, we got to be on the East Coast, right? We shouldn't be going westbound. We shouldn't be going to Charlie West. Anyway, it was very embarrassing. I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, and so I put in Victor 57 to Hotel Victor, Quebec, which is Charlie West. And sure enough, it took it, and we were good to go. So we spent 15 minutes, maybe close to 20 minutes, trying to program a route that was just a common miscommunication. So that was on me. And I mean, I could say it was on the controller too, but it really wasn't. It was on me, because if I look at the route of flight, the airway doesn't even go to CHS. So it was just one of those things where just a bad situation. But anyway, that was the penalty box. So we sat there for a while. All right, we're level 29. Why aren't we going to 33? It looks like we're having a hard time climbing to 330. Are we not in lever climb? Oh, we're not quite in lever climb. We're at a thrust. That's why. Thrust climb. There we go. We need a little bit more power. More power. Look at the water reflecting the sunlight there. Gosh, that's beautiful. West Side, he says, talking about controllers in the 320, when do you switch from rudder to steering wheel control, and for takeoff is it right after lining up. So yeah, west side, when you take the runway, in real life, I always try to make sure my lineup is pretty spot on, right? In flight sim, my lineups are pretty terrible, and I just, whatever. I do half my lineups from the exterior view. But if you're lined up straight from the get-go, then yeah, if you switch the controls, if the first officer's taken off, you say you have controls, and any movement that he needs to get maintained parallel on the center line, it is... you can just do it with the rudder pedals. You do not want to be using the tiller when you're rolling down the runway. And actually, the tiller's effectiveness will decrease with ground speed, or actually wheel speed, essentially. And as you go faster, the amount of travel that the tiller will allow you to do eventually goes to zero. So you don't touch the tiller unless you are really like you're slow coming off the runway. I'd say probably 30 knots maximum is when I place my hand on the tiller. Say I'm decelerating from landing, about 30 knots. I'll probably put my hand on the tiller, still use the rudder pedal, still use differential braking, and then very gently get on that tiller. But the tiller sensitivity decreases as the speed increases. That way, in case you inadvertently touch the tiller, you don't lose it. Golden Star says you're wrong, you didn't even know it. Yep, exactly. I didn't even know I was wrong, and I was like, I'm not going crazy, right? And I was like, and even the captain of Charleston, CHS, Victor, it's not taking. So it was just one of those moments where you're like, wow, really? Mustafa, what's up, man? Says, hey, V1, roundabout, how much can one expect to spend on buying a full setup for flight simming? Oof, are you talking about the computer as well? Thank you, John, for the subscribe, man. Appreciate it. For this, without including the sim, or I'm sorry, without including the PC, just, some rudder pedals, you're probably looking at, in US dollars, you're probably looking at around, what, $150 for some pedals, from decent pedals, and probably $150 for a basic throttle and side stick. You can probably get it for cheaper. You can probably get something with less functionality, but if you have a $300 budget, you can probably get the peripherals you need. It would be a side stick and throttle and rudder pedals. But I mean, you can also spend a lot of money on it too. It just depends on what your budget allows and how you do it. Now, I flew sims back in the day with just a little gosh, what was it? It was like a Sidewinder. It had like 3 buttons on the stick. That was it. So it all depends on what you're after, man. Zombler says, what company was that at? I'm an E175 at Mesa. Zombler. Republic Airways, man. Republic. E175. So you probably know what I mean then by that. Because it's been so long since I've been on the Embraer. I can't remember exactly how the flight plan took, but I knew if you put in the airway and the waypoint, it would say mismatch, and it wouldn't take it. It just flat out wouldn't take it. And that's what was happening. Hey V1, how's the 320 holding up today? Ex-country, it is holding up great, man. We had a nice departure. The flight directors were a little bit funky. I think it was because I had a flaps 2 takeoff. It wanted me to pitch down to accelerate, but in Toga, we would have just oversped everything. So I don't know, it was a little funky. Basically MCAS flight directors on departure, but wasn't a big deal. We just kept the pitch up where it should be and pretty much went off without a hitch there. So everything's looking good right now. Try to catch some of the group wings Saturday. I will try, Dougal. I do have something going on Saturday, but hopefully, if I'm trying to think, we might be back in time. Your December 5th group flight, I can't commit just yet, but I'm really looking at it. I've got it marked on the calendar, man. I'll be in contact with you for sure when that happens. Jeremy Harvey says, is it better to hold the side stick at the top instead of near the bottom? It just depends, man. I think if you hold it near the top, you have a tendency to over control the side stick because of I don't know, it seems kind of easier to over control or manipulate. I tend to hold it towards the bottom. I kind of, if I'm doing really fine corrections, like if I'm doing a single engine approach in the sim, what I'll do is I will put my hand kind of at the base of the grip. So if you're looking, let's look down here, I'll kind of put my, I guess what, my 3 fingers, my pinky finger, ring finger, and middle finger kind of around the bottom here, and then I'll just have part of my middle finger and my index finger and my thumb on the base of the stick, because it's very, you got to be very careful with what you do with over controlling when you're doing a single engine hand flown approach. So I will actually use a full fist. I don't just grab the whole stick when I'm doing a single engine. And if you watch that movie Sully, when they are recreating the accident in the simulators, the female pilot, she actually grabs the side stick with 3 fingers, and you see that in the video. So she was obviously typed on the airplane or had training on the airplane, because that is a real technique that you can use to prevent over controlling of the aircraft in a, you know, in a situation where you're a single engine, or maybe you have some type of damage and you don't want to over control the aircraft, or direct law or alternate law. If you just use 3 fingers to manipulate the stick, it makes it a little bit easier to control. When we do our true streams of reality back to work streams, I will be more by the book. But FS 2020, I just enjoy looking at the airplane, the beauty of the lighting, and hanging out with you guys in chat. So let me turn this down a little bit because I feel like I'm going deaf here. Hopefully that's not too bad, and we'll just kind of zoom in on it right there. We'll do a little bit of X. Uh-oh. What happened to my YouTube is having an issue. Oh, can you guys still see the stream all right? I'm getting a error message here. Hopefully we can clear this up. I mean, I'm still showing the stream. I think we're okay. Huh. I think I just messed the camera up a little bit and the internet freaked out. Cactus 5049 says the female pilot is an Airbus captain at AA. Funny enough, I saw the sim they used for the recreation. Cactus 1549, welcome to the stream, man. I don't know if you were here earlier or not. But yeah, that's, see, so there you go. I knew she was a real pilot just by the way she was manipulating the controls. Ed Reed, what's up, man? Good to see you here, man. I had some stutters there. Yeah, got a little funky on us. German Harvey says, is there any null zone with the real side stick zones, man? It is, there's, I want to say the slightest of slight detents, but it's not even a detent. It's smooth, but you can feel its center, I guess. But there is no null zones. It is, you move the stick, it's going to move the airplane. What is the procedure for single engine approach? I had a random failure the other day that had me on 1 engine. So there's a lot of stuff that happens when you go into single engine. And the best way to go over that, Max, would be check out one of the check ride streams when I do single engine ILS approach. I actually do a single engine approach, and I think we do a single engine mist, maybe. But I will be doing single engine stuff as we prepare to go back to the real airplane and we do our back to work streams. Do I fly for a virtual airline? Nope, I do not, man. Christopher Levin, what's up? He says, I was just going to say the same thing about Woman in Sully. There you go, yeah. I had to refresh the stream. Okay, yeah. If you didn't refresh your stream, I don't know what happened there. We had a big dropout. David Perez, what's going on, man? He says, Captain, greetings from Puerto Rico. I'd like to see you fly a fun series of short flights based out of my hometown. Ah, with your JetBlue from all of the islands, man. Yeah, dude, definitely. I don't know why I went Jamaican there for a second, but I was actually going to do some island hopping. I want to use the King Air, but I hate that G1000. So we might do some island hopping in the Mooney, and I want to fly the Airbus in the St. Martin, and there's one other one down there I want to fly into. but I'm kind of waiting for the virtual cold Beach 99 to come out, because I got a lot of time on the Beach 99, and I know it's probably not going to be study level, but it's just I haven't had Beach 99 in any sim so I think it would be cool to fly the airliner down there and then do some island hopping around down there in turboprops. Maybe going over some real GA techniques, getting back to the basics. If we don't do a turboprop, do some piston stuff, talking about leaning procedures, spark plug fouling, alternators, magnetos, kind of getting into that around the islands. I think that would be fun. Can't see the stream, but it had a hiccup. Yeah, so hopefully if you refreshed, you're back on it now. Flight Surgeon, what's going on, man? He says V1, the airport is that airport is an interesting approach. The last time I flew MD-80s was from Atlanta to Portland, Maine, and we landed with less than 1 minute or 1 mile visibility. Next day, I went and spotted this approach. Oh, yeah, man. Portland, Maine is fun. It's beautiful up there. I love the approach. I love the lobster. Great place, man. Good to have you aboard, Flight Surgeon. Welcome, dude. An MD-80. I wonder, that would be fun to do the harbor visual on an MD-80 for sure. What mod is displaying the flight plan on top of the screen? That is Sim Toolkit Pro. Yannick Murray, welcome to Private Pilot. Yannick, welcome aboard. You will now have your stripes, obviously, in chat, but you also get a couple of different perks as well. I do a podcast every month. That is, go to the main YouTube page and go to playlist and select V1 After Dark, and I've got a slew of podcasts for you. I do one each month. I'll be starting to record the podcast for November this month, probably this weekend. So hope you like that. Welcome to the channel, my friend. Wojtek, good morning, sir. Welcome aboard. Why do you hate the G1000? I don't hate the real-life G1000. I hate the Flight Simulator G1000 because the real-life G1000 does so much more than any sim can replicate that it feels too fake to me. Now, the only exception to that rule would be the TBM 900, and there's one more in X-Plane. I can't remember now. I think the Pocket Rocket has a really good G1000 as well. But the G1000 is a very hard system to model with enough functionality that I feel immersed, because anybody who's flown a real G1000 knows that it can do a lot of stuff, and the G1000s that we have in FS 2020 just aren't up to snuff, and I just feel like I'm flying a toy. Christopher Levin says the Warthog is great, but how does it feel compared to the real stick? I'd like to get something in the works as well as the real stick does. Christopher Levin, if you go back in the stream, I did a whole spiel on why I like the Warthog for the Airbus, but as far as not spending $1,000 on a really high quality stick, I think there's a company out there that makes replica Airbus side sticks. The Warthog is the closest to the real thing that I have ever used in a desktop sim. Now, I know the gimbal mechanism isn't like the real aircraft, but the resistance that you feel, the tactile feel of a cold metal stick is very realistic to me. So, as far as is the closest to the real thing that I've had. But it's great for other stuff too, like if you fly other sims and you want a little bit more functionality, because in real life, the Airbus side stick, man, only has like, 2 buttons on it? So, from a PC aviator standpoint, having a few more buttons is always a good thing. All right, let's go ahead and see where we are. We should probably take a look at and start coming down. Let's see, we need to get across buoy at 18,000. Well, let's see here. Let me do some quick math. That looks like it's smoothed out here. We'll go ahead and turn the seatbelt sign off while we can. We're now free to move about the cabin. Let me do 33,000 feet, and if we got to cross buoy at 18, that's 15,000. Times 3, 45, call it 50. So we're still looking good. We'll start down here in just a little bit. So this, let's take a look at our flight plan, and then we got to look at where this is actually taking us. So we're going to have to be visual with the Portland Harbor visual. We're not going to really follow this flight plan. It looks like it's kind of messed up anyway. It looks like going back and joining the LS. So we're not really going to do that. We're going to be visual with the terrain, and I'll show you guys the approach here in just a little bit. So we got just a little bit more time. I'd say we'll start down here in about, maybe 45 miles or so. We'll start trickling down. Speaking of, let's go ahead and pull up the... No, we're good. Let's pull up the weather, though. Let's see if there's been a weather update. Weather request, METAR, send. Flight Surgeon, welcome back to Private Pilot, dude. Welcome aboard, dude. Max Frank says Sky Larky makes the exact replica for $550. Ooh. David Perez, it would be absolutely fun to have you flying constant speed props, specifically around here. You have an awesome personality and stream. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. FYI, I just received in July my commercial MEL with single engine on. Dude, absolutely fantastic, man. Congratulations, David Perez. That is awesome, man. That's a big accomplishment. Commercial MEL, dude. I remember that one. Good stuff. Yeah, well, we definitely got to get back into some constant speed props. I can't remember the last time we did a prop stream on this channel, but we need to. I miss it. Speaking of other, Cactus 1549. If you're still in the chat, man, congrats to you as well. He did his first solo a couple days ago, so congrats to Cactus 1549 as well. Grayson says, interior to yoke, or does it not really matter? Like it doesn't really matter in terms of functionality as far as flying the aircraft, but me personally, I don't think I could ever go back to a yoke, because once you get accustomed to this right here, having all of the space and a tray table that pops out, you can put your food on it, your drinks, your USA Today, whatever you want. I mean, you wouldn't do that. You would only put your company manuals on that. That's all you would ever put on there in food. But that being said, once you have this much space, it's hard to go back to, or to even think about going back to having a yoke. When I sit at my desk and I have the honeycomb yoke in front of me, it's just like, man, this is so, there's just so much going on. It's just feel cramped, you know. It took a little bit getting used to using the side stick, just a little bit. Like in crosswind landings at first with the side stick were a little bit strange, but you know, you get the hang of it, and it's like, man, this is the way it should be done. It feels really good. All right, let's see what new METAR is. Portland, Maine, 33017 goes 25, 10 miles, 3032. So we're looking good there. It's going to be one heck of a crosswind, 25 knots from 330. 330. Well, maybe not. Be about a quarter-inch crosswind. Won't be too bad, but it is a little windy. It's interesting. The wind's going to be blowing from the north, so we got to make sure we stay over the river. Don't get blown too far south. All right, let's go ahead and let's start trickling down, shall we? Let's go ahead and descend and maintain. Flight level 290. And then I got a vertical speed because I don't want to dive down. Oh, and vertical speed 1900. I'll make it 1800. Down to 290. That's a cool shot. Only says late to the stream, better late than never. Absolutely, man. Welcome aboard, dude. Matthew, what's up, man? It says, hey, everyone, completed my theoretical ATPL this afternoon. Ooh. As an A320 enthusiast, I really like your content. Keep going. Fantastic, man. ATPL theoretical is one hell of a test, man. I remember my buddy was doing his ATPL study, and he would ask me questions. Man, it's that ATPL, I assume Europe somewhere, or maybe, you know, non-US, definitely. The written exam for that ATPL is pretty tough, so congratulations, man. That's a big one to get out of the way. Arian says, hey, Captain, is it an unwritten rule that the captain sits on the left, or is it actually in the handbook? captain sits on the left. I don't, I don't know if it's in the book. I actually don't know if it's in the book. I mean, it says captain's seat is on the left side, so I guess you could say that. But I don't know if it's unwritten or not. I've actually never, I'm trying to think if I've seen it in writing. The captain must sit on the left seat. Surely it has to be in there. I'd have to look it up. Don't call me Shirley. Christopher Levin, he says, the only issue I have with the Warthog for CiviSims is right hand only. Yeah, it's taking you out of disbelief when you're sitting in the left seat. That is a very good point you bring up, Chris. And the thing is, for me, it's not a huge issue because I like to fly a lot of digital combat sim as well, and all that is based on having your stick on the right. So it's it is a trade-off. If they made an interchangeable Airbus grip where you can put it on the left side or the right side, I think that would sell like absolute hotcakes for Thrustmaster, because being able to have an interchangeable stick to the left, I mean, they've already got somebody probably 3D print one even, but I mean, they've got the base done and it's easy to swap the stick out. But yeah, if you have if you have your throttles and everything set up on the right side, then it's definitely a challenge. Your last real-life GA flight. Oh boy. My last real-life GA flight? Hey. It's been at least 15 years, man. I'm trying to... I don't even remember. I'm trying to think. I don't even remember. It must have been... It had to be flying freight, because after I flew freight, I went straight to the airline. So, yeah, it's been a long time, dude. But here's the thing. I live close to a regional airport, and I see props flying around all the time. And I've been getting the itch to get back in a GA plane and just go do some traffic pattern work or something just for fun. Definitely been getting the itch for that. I really have, especially sitting at home, not being able to go back to work. It's I've been looking at. There's a guy that does. I don't know if he's doing flight training or what, but he's got a. It's not a Baron. 310. He's got a Cessna 310. It flies around all the time, and I see him out over the lake. I want to meet him so I can be like, hey man, let's go do let me burn some avgas. Need to get in one. Jeremy Harvey says, my friend has a Baron 55 and he loves it. Are you familiar with Baron? Yes, Baron is a fantastic airplane, man. Baron 58. I flew the 58 for just a little bit. What flight stick do you suggest again? Sorry for the repeat. For the Airbus, man, the Warthog. Thrustmaster Warthog, to me, is if you can deal with having the stick on the right side with a right-handed grip, it is probably the closest thing to real that I felt yet within a reasonable price. And I'm talking sub $500. As somebody mentioned, they make a replica for $550. Are Simbri flight plans realistic? Yeah, man, they're pretty realistic. I think Boeing would ever go to side stick. I don't know, man. What is the crosswind component in the A320? Good check right question there, Captain Next Country. Maximum demonstrated crosswind in the A320 is 38 knots. But that is a maximum demonstrated. That's not a limitation. You can land in crosswinds up to 40 if you want to. It just hasn't been demonstrated. Now, when you start doing Cat 2, Cat 3, or auto lands, and you have crosswind limitations that you can't exceed. The artillery is on the left of most jets. Yes, it is. I think you can get them as an option in Boeing. I'm not 100% sure. I know in the Airbus, the artillery is on both sides. The artillery is on the right side for the FO as well in the Airbus. Dougal says, do you also use the Warthog throttles? No, Dougal, I don't use the Warthog throttle. I just got the side stick. I have a X56 throttle quadrant, very similar to the Warthog, but it's all universal. So the reason I didn't get the Warthog throttle was because, again, I love having universal switching. So the Satec X56, and I actually had the whole setup. I had the X56 side stick and throttle quadrant, but I took my side stick apart and broke it, so it didn't work anymore. That's why I got the Warthog. But I still kept the throttle. I really like it. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 toggle switches just on the base, a couple rotaries, 3 different modes. It has a lot of functionality. It's all universal. Makes it easier for me in my mind than looking down at the APU start switch on the Warthog throttle and binding that to spoilers or something. So that's just a little thing that I was messing with. All right, we're level 290. Let's go ahead and pick up the speed, shall we? JetBlue 133, maintain 7.9 or greater for spacing. Alright, 7.9 or greater for spacing. We're at 29, 10, 11, 30 something miles from buoy. We gotta start down. We gotta start down here pretty soon. And then we'll start briefing for the approach. Couple more wing views here, and then we're gonna have to start prepping for the approach. 1930 says the Airbus stick is interchangeable already with the buttons coming off. There you go. Yeah. I use a T1600 setup, and the left-hand mode works great. Probably you can't swap that much in throttle, so I hope to get a Bravo. Yeah, Bravo throttle quadrant looks pretty good. This is FS 2020, man. Isn't the Thrustmaster 320 joystick interchangeable? So, yeah, the 320 joystick from Thrustmaster 1600M. I use the Thrustmaster Warthog. So it's a fully metal construction, much heavier duty side stick than their most recent release. I haven't used their most recent release side stick. I don't foresee myself going that route, just because I don't really have a need to change out my Warthog. I think my Warthog is plenty good. And I don't have throttles for the right side. Like I said, my only throttles that I have right now are throttles. So it actually, while it's kind of backwards for sitting in the left seat of the Airbus, it kind of fits perfectly. You know, left throttles, right side stick. Do they Lido format for flight plans? It depends on the airline, man. So each airline will have its own format. Is there a different crosswind limitation with sharklets and non-sharklets? I do not believe so, Brandon. 38 knots is maximum demonstrated. So you got to remember that there's a difference between limitations and maximum demonstrated. So demonstrated just means that when they certified the airplane, they could only certify it with 38 knots. Like maybe they didn't have winds higher than 38 knots, but that's the most they could get during certification. As far as the auto land limitation, that has to do with the autopilot's capability of tracking the center line or tracking the localizer. There's already talk going around about X-Plane 12. Does that intrigue me? Jeremy Harvey? Nah, talk doesn't really intrigue me, man. When I start seeing things, then I get intrigued. Talk is cheap, man, especially these days. Yep, that's ice on the engine, man. I guess we had a little leftover from DC. Grayson, what's up? He says, thoughts on the FS 2020 Airbus mod? Do you think it has the potential to be very accurate? I think it has the potential, absolutely, man. I think it has potential. He went to Toulouse in order to pass your ATPL. Man, that's pretty cool. One thing I wish we did when we did our Euro tour was fly into Toulouse. I think I dropped the ball on that. We never went to Toulouse when we went to the Euro tour. We may have to revisit that. Why am I... There we go. I want to switch to hundreds. Switch to hundreds. There we go. Gosh. Alright, there he goes. 1,800 feet set. Alright, descend to maintain flight level 180. Let's see. 3032 was the altimeter. 3032 set. Oh, not QFE, QNH. Standard. Alright. 3032 is set. We're going to turn our LS push buttons because we're going to actually have the approach as a backup. Let me go ahead and pull up the Navigraph so you guys can see what we're looking at here. Alright, so this is what we got to do. We're going to have to fly, we're going to be flying past Cape Elizabeth. We're going to give ourselves a little self-vectoring. And essentially what we're going to do, there's two islands here, Peaks Island and Cushing Island, and Ram Island Ledge Light. So I don't know if that's actually modeled or not, but we're going to fly around. The biggest landmark we have are these two islands. We want to go just over Peaks Island, right between these two islands here. You're going to stay to the left of Fort Gorge or Little Diamond Island and around the lighthouse here. So we're making a nice left turn and then a steep left turn into the harbor, basically following the harbor, and then a right turn to intercept the final approach course / localizer. I'm going to be at 3,000 feet here is the plan, to be about 3,000 feet as we begin our approach. The one thing that will get you is if you're fast, if you come in too fast, it's hard to slow down because you actually are a lot closer than you think when you start this approach. So we're going to try to be 3,000 feet, probably 180 knots, flaps 2 by the time we start coming in here. As we pass Peaks Island, I'm going to fully configure the aircraft, and hopefully we'll be fully configured by Peaks Island or slightly past Peaks Island on a nice continued descent path. That's the trick. You have to be descending throughout here. You can't just maintain 3,000 feet or 2,000 feet throughout all this because you're actually going to end up closer to the runway. So while you don't have glide slope guidance and you can't use the glide slope because you're not following the localizer, you still have to maintain a nice little descent path as you follow the harbor up the Fore River into Portland, Maine. So I want to try to be fully configured slightly past Peaks Island. That way, as we're coming up the harbor, all we got to do is focus on flying the airplane and getting down in time. Excuse me. All right, so that's our approach. There is no missed approach procedure for this. Final approach course will be 290 degrees. So that's all we got. Airport elevation is 76. Transition altitude is 18,000. Maintain 3,000 or higher until over water, the Atlantic coastline. So they want you 3,000 or higher until you're out over the water, which is, we're coming up from the south, so that shouldn't be a problem. So that looks good. Let's go ahead and hide Navigraph. I'm going to continue our descent down. Let's go ahead and increase our rate of descent. I'm using vertical speed. In real life, you'd be using a managed descent probably, but it's still a little bit funky, so we'll keep that in managed. Let's go back to our perf page. Next approaches here. 3022. Temperature was I don't remember the temperature. I'm gonna put 5. Winds were 320 at 15, gust 27, something like that. 320 at 1. That's why you need that printer. Transition altitude 18,000. There are no minimums to put in there, so we're just going to leave it blank. We're going to do config full. VAP is 124 knots. So our approach is perf data has been set. And if we pull up the VFR map as we get a little bit closer, we're going to use the VFR map to help keep us in check. Right now we're looking good on our descent down. Oh, I missed a lot of chat there. I apologize, guys. Let me scroll back. Alexander says, do you understand why for everyone FS2020 hasn't optimized the cockpit as well as exterior? Something to do with screens, because cockpit uses 40% of my GPU, but exterior uses 80. I do not know why, man. I do not know the answer, unfortunately. Oni says, that's some time since the last GA flight. Do you have any friends or family asking to go up? Thought people would ask me all the time when I got my license, but crickets. Yeah. No, man, when I was single, I used that as as a good date night thing. But no one really asked me to go up. It's cool to fly your family, though. I've flown my family a couple times. But other than that, no one really asked me to go up. And I wouldn't take anybody up in a GA airplane right now without getting checked out, because I'll probably start flaring at 100 feet, install the sucker into the ground, collapse the gear. Did you ever get the glitch where the autopilot starts drifting when you go to wing view? Yes, I did. And what happened, Hacky, is my center view, or my wing view with binding, was also a aileron binding. Aileron left, aileron right, whatever it may be. So make sure you don't have any cross bindings with your aileron controls. I think there are some with the numpad. So that was, I had that and I was able to fix it. Rich says, your videos have helped me a lot and helped me learn how to use the A320 and FS2020. So thank you. Awesome, man. Congrats. I've always wanted to learn how to fly, so thanks. Not a problem, Rich. I'm glad you're enjoying the content. I'm glad you're learning to fly the airplane. I haven't done too much instructional stuff with the FS2020 Airbus, just because it's still in its infancy and it's still getting more and more updated. I will probably be remastering my professional series on the channel as pre-recorded videos, and the same procedures apply across the board. So you can watch an X-Plane video in the Airbus and then apply the same thing to the Airbus in FS2020, or even prepare 3D or FSX, what have you, as long as it's functional. So that's a good thing about Airbus, is you can apply it across all platforms. Could we fly the Flight Factor 320 sometime? Yeah, Alexander, we'll have to be back in the Flight Factor. It's been a while since we've flown the Flight Factor. Jerron Post, what's going on, man? Welcome. What is Ground Speed Mini? It's magic, dude. Essentially, it will give you a higher indicated airspeed compensating for wind. That is a very brief description of Ground Speed Mini. We'll get into Ground Speed Mini when we get to our back to work streams and we start talking in depth about some more core systems functions, because it's also a good check ride question. But there's a lot of stuff that goes into Ground Speed Mini and how it's calculated. All right, our next altitude is 1000. Let's go ahead and drop her on down. Out here on the East Coast, they do drop you down early. Start flying around low level. 1000. We'll just do an open descent. Why VAP lower than usual? We're pretty light, man. That's probably why you're seeing a low VAP. No need for anti-ice, man. We're not in icing conditions. There's our Portland Maine METAR. Oh, temperature -1. Wow, it's a lot cooler than required. You can request METAR report if you have the dev version. Yes, you can. I have the dev version. I requested the METAR report. It's very cool. I love having that function. Something that's still missing from our X-plane Airbuses. I hope they fix the icing effect. Me too, man. Icing effect is definitely over-exaggerated in FS 2020. Kennedy, this flight we took off from Washington, D.C., and we are flying to Portland, Maine. We're doing the harbor visual approach, which is, in my opinion, maybe more challenging than the river visual into D.C., and I think it's a different type of stunning approach. Like, you're looking at harbor, at least in real life, you're looking at the yachts and fishing boats going in the harbor, whereas DC, you're looking at the monuments and stuff. Very comparable approach. Definitely my top 5 U.S. approaches. How long left to descent? We're on the descent right now, man. We're headed down to 11,000 feet. Brandon said, is it worth getting Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 just to get the A320X, or should I wait? It's hard for me to speak for you, man, but if you like what you see so far from the fly-by-wire, you should get it, man, because here's the thing. I think I still have yet to have my mind changed on the fact that I think this sim platform is the future. Now, I don't know what X-Plane 12 holds, so I don't know. But as of right now, my gut is telling me that this is the future platform for flight simulation. Is it right now? No. We still have way more study-level aircraft than X-Plane, and X-Plane is really good. But as we look at 2 years from now, 3 years from now, I think this is where the future holds. So if you want to get on it now, might as well. You won't be disappointed, I don't think. XP72, what is going on, man? He says, great to see you flying. Juicy. Definitely, XP72, welcome to the chat, man. We are just getting ready to start our visual approach, the harbor visual into Portland, Maine. As I overspeed the aircraft here. That's interesting. That's on me. I was in selected speed. Don't want to do that. I'll blame Phantom 320. So that's one of the gotchas. We talked about this in X-Plane 11. I told you guys, if you are in selected speed, mostly in climb out is when you're going to get that. If you're in a selected indicated airspeed and you're in climb out, as your indicated decreases, you can possibly overspeed the aircraft. Now the opposite is true on the descent, and you just saw me do it. That's why in real life you don't sit outside watching wing views, but definitely don't want to do that. That's a write-up. We're going to do a write-up when we get on the ground. Oversped the aircraft. Whoops. That's right, we're doing 320. What am I at here? I want to do 320. I hate these click spots, though. 320 knots. There we go. Speed out star 1000. We'll hit CK, and then we're going to drop it down to 8,000. And where's our VFR map? Let's take a look at where we are here. So we still got a little ways to go. So we're actually going to self-vector ourselves after Skogs. We're going to vector ourselves straight to the Cape. We're going to cut all this off. Actually, we could probably go direct Pete right now. I think we can do that. Let's see if we can screw the airplane up here. Let's see if it'll take direct peak. Okay, so it left all of that, but I don't want to mess around with clearing that out because I have crashed my sim by messing with the box too much. But we're going to go direct Pete right now, and then we'll vector ourselves for the harbor visual into Portland, Maine. But once again, welcome XP to the chat, to the stream. Guys, if you haven't already, check out XP72. Awesome dude, great streamer. So good to have you aboard, man. Good to have you aboard. He's actually the savior of the wing views. So all these wing views that I have, I was able to do because of his video that he posted on how to create wing views in FS 2020. Game changer for sure. So huge shout out to XP72. What would happen if you oversped the aircraft in real life? You would have to do a write-up. So on the ground, I would pull out, we call it the CAN or the maintenance log, and say aircraft was oversped at 1/1000 for approximately 10 seconds, and configuration clean, and then no discrepancies noted or whatever. And then maintenance would have to come out, look at the airplane. Now, where you typically get overspeeds, if you're in that, maybe a wind gust in their clean configuration, but most of the time your overspeed write-ups have to do with flap overspeeds. And if you do a flap exceedance or a flap overspeed for a certain amount of time, maintenance actually has to come out, look at the flaps, make sure they're not damaged, do a flap sequence. So it's a big no-no. You don't want to do it. It's a violation of the aircraft limitation. Now, if you do it on a check ride, it's a bust. Automatic check ride fail. Done. Done ski. You cannot exceed any limitations of the aircraft on a check ride. Guess I use the joystick. Thrustmaster Warthog. El Babino 65. What's up, man? He says hello from France. Cheese and wine as usual. Excellent, man. It's a little early for cheese and wine for me. It's only 11:35. I've got my Black Rifle Coffee Company right here. I will be on the cheese and wine later tonight, though, my friend. My fly-by-wire 320neo doesn't have speed brakes on the front of the wings. You probably are talking about slats. Speaking of, we need to go ahead and descend here. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce speed to 250 knots. And we're going to descend and maintain 5,000. So you're probably talking about slats, leading edge slats right here. And you will only see these deploy when you are in flaps position 1 or greater. So we have leading edge slats. And then we have, let me get back to it, trailing edge flaps. And then we have spoilers, or speed brakes, depending on how you want to call them. Spoilers is a ground call. Speed brakes are in the air, essentially. You also have ground spoiler, which is this guy right here. I'm actually not 100% sure this is this right? I feel like we're missing something right here as far as spoilers goes, but I have to look at that up later. Daniel Olivis says, hello, I'm new. Welcome aboard, Daniel. You joined just in time, my friend. We are descending for the harbor visual into Portland, Maine. So for those guys that just joined on the chat, number 1, hit the like button for me, please. Appreciate you. Number 2, this is the approach we're going to be doing into Portland, Maine. A lot of you are probably very familiar with the river visual into Washington, D.C. It's a famous approach. In real life, I would say that this approach arguably rivals that in terms of both its beauty and its challenge. Now, the reason for that is, number 1, you don't have any distance DME markers and altitudes like you do on the river visual. So on the river visual, you have altitude windows that you're trying to cross. This, they basically say, here, just fly over the island, go up the river, and land. They don't give you any vertical guidance or vertical references. Number 2, you do have to make a pretty significant turn here. You have to make a tight turn coming around House Island, and then you also have to make a tight turn lining up with final approach, whereas the river visual is just kind of one constant right-hand turn. Now, in real life, and I'm curious to see how this is going to look in FS 2020, but in real life, this is a stunning approach to fly. I mean, you've got fishing boats and crab boats, and just that, if anybody's been up into the Northeast, that Portland, Maine, Boston area, it's a very, I want to say like classic view, a classic beauty up there, and this approach is no different. So I love flying this approach. We're going to do it in the sim. We're going to see how it looks out. We're going to start the approach at 3,000 feet, and then we're going to have to do a constant descent. Just again to brief everybody, I want to be flaps 280 knots before I go through the islands here. I'm going to be configuring the aircraft, hopefully fully configured beam Little Diamond Island, which is this one right here. And that way, once we get onto the river, we can just focus on flying our descent and flying the aircraft, not having to configure the aircraft. City of South Portland is noise sensitive area, so you don't want to fly south. Vertical guidance and nav aid angle for the localizer is 3 degrees, but that would be if you're doing the straight in localizer. We're actually going to go past the localizer and then circle back. Very fun approach to do. I'm excited to try it here in FS 2020, see what it looks like. Oh my gosh, I was pointing at my Navigraph charts the whole time. I didn't even have it up for you. But this is, if you wanted to look at it, this is the approach right here. I was just showing you what I was going to do, and I noticed that it wasn't on the stream, so I apologize for that. We'll pull it up as we get a little bit closer. Alright, but we're 16 miles from Pete, so we need to get on down here. So we're going to go 3,000. And we need to go ahead and get some spoilers out. We are getting a little bit closer. Got a little bit distracted here.
Subscriber ahead. Look up.
Down we go. 6.5 out of 10. Let's get our lights on. Landing lights on. Thank you for the subscribe, man. Wing lights on. And we can activate and confirm the approach phase as well. Descending 3,000. Christopher Levin says, looks like your reversers are a bit deployed when looking at the nacelle. I know, we need Carta engines out here, man. We need Carta's engine mods. There we go, we got our speed brakes up. That's a pretty shot. Thank you for the subscribe there, Petrogagus and Alejandro and Dabaron. Appreciate your subscribe, man. Welcome to the channel, guys.
Subscriber ahead. Look up.
Definitely hit that like button for me on the way in here. Helps the channel grow. All right, here we go. We got our first visual cues. So I got to figure out where I want to leave this chart up or not. Close you. And I'm just trying to get my charts a little bit set up. There we go. All right, Cape Elizabeth. Technically, we should be out over the water. So we're going to go heading mode. 050 around the Cape. We're at 3,000 feet. Let's go ahead and slow back 200 knots. I'm trying to let's see. I wonder if that even pops up on the stream. There we go. Yeah, it does pop up on the stream.
Subscriber ahead.
I guess I'll put it up here. This is where I missed my Avi tab. Thank you for all the subscribe, guys. Appreciate it. Alright, we're going to hand fly everything. I'm going to go ahead and turn the chart off. If you guys want to just Google the chart, because I'm going to have to look out the window. And I'm going to be not looking at chat anymore.
Subscriber ahead.
So here we go. I'm going to go ahead, autopilot off, auto thrust off. Not the proper way to do that, but we'll go ahead and set that for decel. Flaps 1. Turn our flight directors off. All right, here we go. Let's fly the airplane. I'll use my little VFR chart. So we technically have to go around Pete This is where I wish I could have track IR on. All right, we need to get to 180 knots. We'll start trickling down here at a 3,000. So I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see we got to go around these two islands. This is Peaks Island and Cushing Island. So we're going to go right through there and around.
Subscriber ahead. Look up.
Let's slow down a little bit more here. So there's our two islands right here. We're going to go right through here, inside of this island, and around the lighthouse. And there she is over there. And I can already tell I think I'm getting a little high and a little fast. Gotta get on it. 3,000 feet is set for the go-around altitude. No longer checking out the chat button, or the chat, so apologize for that. Gear coming down. Spoilers arm, seatbelt sign. Should have turned that on when we started our descent. It is on. Alright, how we looking here? We're looking good. We're going to go right over the island. We're at 2,000 feet. We're slowing to our V ref speed. About 125-ish. Alright, here we go. Configuring flaps full. This is going to be hard because I want to look outside. So we're going to go inside of this guy and in the river. There's runway 29er. Wow, that looks pretty cool though. I really wish we had a replay mode, huh? No longer need terrain mode. Man, this is a beautiful approach though already. We'll keep trickling down. We're at 1,300 feet. We're looking good. I think I'm a little high. I'm going to try to pick up that descent rate. There's an airplane inside of me here that we're probably going to cut off. I think I just saw him on the localizer. So here's that wind. It's pushing me to the left. We don't want that, so I got to anticipate this turn a little bit. I'm going to continue it out a little bit further, and let's go ahead and bring it in. Let's take a wing view here in the bank. Oh man, look at that shot, huh? Look at the water. Man, I wish I was streaming in 1080p because that looks freaking real. 1,000 feet, stable. Oh, it's tempting to follow the glide slope, but you got to just keep on your normal descent because you don't want to be following the glide slope because we're not on the localizer. You'll end up a little bit too low or you'll end up high. Until you're straight, you should roll out straight on the localizer. Now the wind is coming from the right, so I'm going to start this turn early. I see 2 whites, 2 reds already. I'm letting the wind push me around this corner here. You don't want to wait when you got this strong wind from the right. All right, landing gears down, all thrust off. ECAM status is landing, all green, cabin signs blue. Check. Landing checklist complete. Look at this wind. It's going to push me out here into that crosswind. Keep that bank angle. Keep that bank angle. All right, now we're crabbing into the wind. Looking good. Looking good. Man. I don't care if the landing's trash because we can't even see replay, but I just want to see this. Look at this, huh? That is stunning, man. This is why I think this sim is the future. This is default scenery, guys. This is all default. All right, we're back in it here. Nice crosswind. We're on the glide slope. 2 whites, 2 reds. 20 knot crosswind from the right. That's a little spicy here. Just work her down. I don't know if I've done a crosswind landing in this airplane yet. This ought to be interesting. All right, start working out that crab. Oh boy, so twitchy. Straighten it out. There we go. Spoilers. Oh man, definitely twitchy. Reverse green, manual brakes. I don't know why it's yelling at me to retard. So can we make it? You know, we'll go to the next one. I thought we could make that turn. Wow. Just on the spoilers. Don't reconfigure the airplane on the runway like I'm doing, but I want to hear these flap sounds. Listen to those new flap sounds. Oh, I like it. Yeah, real life though, you don't want to reconfigure on the runway. Whew, we are down. Man, I want to replay with that. That is a shame. Landing lights, strobe lights, wing light, prime the APU. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Portland, Maine. That approach was awesome. You guys tell me, what do you think? Do you think that's prettier than flying into DC? You guys got to try it. Try this approach at home. Post your screenshots in the Discord. I'd love to see you guys. I know a lot of you guys run some really high-end rigs, so seeing ultra settings, you guys got to take some screenshots, put them in the Discord. But this approach, when you get to fly it like this, it's beautiful, man. Coming in over the river, just got to keep don't get focused on that glide slope until you're making that turn to final. You just want to keep a nice steady descent. Try to have your airplane configured before going up the river. We'll go ahead and park next to the Alley Giant over here on the left-hand side. Man, let's go ahead and get you fired up, sir. XP says, nicely done, Captain. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, man. A proper Ryanair landing. I didn't think it was that hard. Just super. It's so weird with the rudder on this airplane. When you take that rudder out, it just wants to twitch all over. It's like there's no... It goes into, like, no more fly-by-wire mode. It just feels like every movement you do is super twitchy. We're going to have to stop early because I'm not going to taxi into the jet bridge. We'll stop right here. Brake set. Let's get our ground services, jetway connection.
Ground JetBlue 133, could you please connect the jetway to the aircraft?
Ladies and gentlemen.
JetBlue 133, the jetway is going to be connected.
Here comes the jetway. Sounds like the APU is fully spooling up. Got the music starting up. There's 70%. Man, this APU is taking a minute. This is why I wish we had replay mode. I was looking at the chat. Somebody said no wing drop. Whew. Jaleel says, I can't wait for the FS Labs 320, 321 with the EFB. You and me both, man. Alright. Engine 2 can come offline. Avail. Engine 1. Spool them down. Oh, that spool down shot. Ooh.
Generic Niter Sierra, call taxi.
Man. If we had a replay mode, this would be straight juice. Alright, we'll get the bleeds on. Actually, we've got external power. We'll go ahead and turn that off and turn the bleed off. Beacon light can come off. Seatbelt light can come off. First officer shut down flow. He'll get his fuel pumps off. Everything else is off there. Off, off. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Portland, Maine. I sure wish we could do a replay of that, but doesn't look like it'll be happening. Miss Jungle says, great stream. Appreciate it, Miss Jungles. Thank you very much. New news unit says this is how you fly. You will fly this eventually. They will be flowing remotely, just like with no physical pilots. Not in my lifetime, man. But it will happen, I'm sure. Well, guys, thank you all for hanging out with me this afternoon. If you haven't already, please hit the like button on the way out. It helps the channel. If you like this type of content, it also lets you know when I produce more content like this. Mods, sponsors, donors, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Everybody else, I love you guys just as much. Stay safe, stay healthy, and hopefully I'll be seeing you guys here very soon, at least a couple more times before this week is over. So until next time, guys, again, stay safe, stay healthy. I'm V1. See ya!
Generic Niter Sierra, but the whole position caution other traffic. Call position generic, Niter contact.